Hello and welcome to this tutorial on data editing, processing, and topology. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to edit data in Supermap iDesktop, how to carry out processing on it, and how to deal with topology. So let's get started. So this is an overview of the three things that we talked about. And we're going to start off with data editing, which entails object editing and attribute editing. Under data processing, we're going to talk about appending and dissolving datasets, Raster Mosaic, Raster Resampling, and map clipping. Finally, under topology, we're going to talk about the concepts in topology, we're going to be checking the topology, and finally, we're going to talk about topology processing. Let's start off with object editing. Now, these are the several operations that we will be doing in this demonstration. So let's start off with extending and trimming. Right, so here we have created our new empty data source called test, and we're going to create a line object within this data source. We're going to say new data set, and we're going to say line, and we're going to call it extend trim. Right then, say okay. And we're going to load it into a new map, and we're going to make this layer editable, and we're going to say line, polyline, and let's draw some beautiful lines here. So there's one line, there's another, and we want a couple of lines on the sides. There we go. One more here. There we have it. So the first operation that we are going to carry out is extend. So we'll go to our object operations ribbon, and under object editing, let's extend this. We're going to go under edit node, and we're going to say extend. It says select baseline. So the baseline is the target line that you want to extend another line to. So let's say we want this line here as the target line. And now we're going to select the line that we want to extend to this line. So let's say we want this line to be extended. So there we have it. This line has been extended. So let's say we want this shorter one as well. There we go. So that's how you extend the lines. Now let's move on to our trim procedure. And for that, we're going to go under object editing again. And this time we're going to say trim. So like before, we're going to select a baseline. Let's say this is our baseline. And then we're going to click a portion of the line that we want to trim. Let's say this one. There we have it. So that's how you do the trimming operation. Right, so moving on to resampling and smoothing. What we have done is that we have created another data set called poly. And this is a polygon data set. And we have created a beautiful looking polygon again here. And we are going to apply some resampling on it. So as you can see that we have some extra vertices right there. One over here and one at the bottom over here. And what we hope to achieve is that these jagged vertices are going to go away and it is going to maintain its original shape. So let's go ahead and try that. We're going to select our polygon. Please make sure that the layer here is editable, and under the object editing window we're going to say resample, and let's say we're going to make it 3. We're going to say okay. So those are gone, but it has changed its shape just a little bit. So we are going to undo that and try that again with a lower distance figure. Let's say 1.5. Maybe we need a little more. Let's say 2 this time. Yeah, that's much better. So just like this, we're going to do some smoothing on this polygon, and that will be found under object operations, just like resample. We're going to say smooth, and let's say we're going to leave the smooth factor as 4. There we go. So all the edges have been smoothed out, including the jagged vector here. Some of it still remains, but that can be corrected with a little more smoothing. There we go. So the more you smooth it out, the more it's going to be less sharp. But you have to keep in mind that it is not going to maintain its shape. the shape is going to change. So let's move on. Alright, so the next thing that we're gonna do is region split. Now for this purpose we have created a new polygon dataset and we have created a rough polygon right here. So it roughly looks like a very bad drawing of a house. So we're going to region split this and create a face inside. So let's do that. So region split. And we're going to do the same thing. Click and draw. Click, draw. Once drawn, right click. One more. Click and draw. Click and draw. Click and draw. Once drawn, right click. So click and draw. Click and draw. Once drawn, right click. So there we go. We're going to say select. And we're going to move these away. Oops. Okay, there we go. And there we have it. So that's how you do a region split.
Okay, so let's talk about attribute editing. Now, if we need to add new attribute values for the existing objects, first we need to add a new field into its attribute table and then input the values one by one. If we want to modify a specific value in the table, we just locate it and enter the new figure manually and it will be updated automatically. We can also input or update the values of the field in batch by the function of update field under the attribute menu. Now let's see how this is actually done in iDesktop.
Okay, so let's talk about attribute editing. What we're going to do to demonstrate attribute editing is that we are going to first of all go into the properties of this polygon dataset right here. And we have our attribute table. And in the attribute table, we're going to add another row. And we're going to call this province. And we're going to change the type to text, right? And we're going to say apply. Let's close the properties and right click on our dataset and say browse attributes. Now here we have a province column that we created, and now what we want to do is that we want to show that we can, one, manually update this, let's say see manually, and two, we can update this automatically as a batch job. And now to demonstrate the first autofill or auto update, we are going to select the province field that we're going to update, and the operation mode is going to be assigned to all, and we're going to change the value to fancy, right, and we're going to say apply, and we can see that all of the name has been changed to Shanxi. The other thing that we want to do is that we want to change another column based on this column. So we're going to select this, and under edit, which is under the attribute table ribbon, and now here we're going to select name first because that is the field that we need to update, and we're going to change the operation mode to double field, right, and we're going to change the apply to box to whole field, and we're going to say apply, and as we can see that Shanxi has been appended to this column here. But what we want to do is that we want the name of the province to be at the start, and we want a space after the name of the province. So let's see how we will do that. First of all, we are going to undo this, and we're going to go in there again and update field name, whole field, double field. Operation field 1 is going to be province, 2 is going to be name, and this time instead of province we're going to add some inverted commas, and we're going to say Shanxi with a space character, and we're going to say apply, and we can see right there that it has been updated just like we wanted it to. Right, so let's talk about data processing. We're going to start off with talking about Dataset Append function, and we're going to very briefly talk about appending columns, and that is because we have demonstrated the append column function in a previous video that you can go back to if you want to see a detailed demonstration of this function. And in this video, we are going to demonstrate the appending of rows. So let's go right ahead and do that. Right, so for this purpose, we have our test data source open. And in order to demonstrate the append function, we are going to add our add rows _1 polygon dataset onto our map. So there we have it right here. And we're going to select this, and we're going to go under data and select append row from data processing. Now here we have our dataset add rows _1 under target data, and we're going to add rows _2 dataset as input, and then we're going to say OK. So in order to display the changes, we're going to close our current map, and we're going to launch our add rows _1 dataset once again. And here we can see that they have been appended, and we are going to go into this and we're going to browse the attributes, and let's compare. So initially we had 1, 2, 3 and 4, these 4 polygons, and then once we appended it, we had these here that were added to this data set. And that's how you append rows. So talking about columns, which is here, this is how it's done. So you have to select your target data and your input, and the joint fields should be the same. And then you can select where you want to append it, and then you say OK, and these columns are going to be appended. Now, as I said before, for a detailed demonstration, you will have to go back to our previous video that you can see on the screen somewhere. Right, so let's just summarize what we did in the append function. Now, what the append rows function does is that it merges two data sets, and it appends data from a source data set to a target data set or a new data set altogether. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is dataset dissolve. So what it does is that it dissolves features with the same specified field values, and we are going to demonstrate this one right now. So let's go ahead and do that. Right, so we have our Shanxi dataset right here. We're going to open it up, bring it up center, go in. Right, so once we have it selected, we are going to go under data, and we're going to select dissolve. So let's look at its description. It says dissolve 2 or more objects into an object or a composite object in a data set. So let's go ahead and try that. Now here we're going to keep the settings as merge or dissolve. In later versions, this is going to be changed to dissolve, so please make sure that there's no confusion. So we're going to say merge, and this is the data set that we want, and the result data set is going to be, let's say, dissolve result 1. All right, so we're going to select province from the merged field, and we're going to select province in the static field as well. So let's go ahead and say OK. Right, so we're going to close these, and we're going to load up our dissolve dataset. And as you can see, all the districts have been merged into the main Shanxi province polygon. Alright, so let's move on to Raster Mosaic. Right, so what Raster Mosaic does is that, for example, we have lots of separate images that we have got from a remote sensing source, and we want to combine these into a meaningful image. And that is what Raster Mosaic comes in. It combines 2 or more raster datasets into one dataset based on its geographic coordinate system. So let's go ahead and demonstrate this. Right, so we have our mosaics over here. Let's load up one of them, and we are going to go under data, and we are going to say Raster Mosaic. And we're going to add all our different images into this window here. And these are the different settings that you can change according to what you want to do with it. And let's say we're going to change the tolerance to 1. Let's say we want mean of all data sets and highest accuracy. We're going to say OK. So here's our result. Let's see what it looks like. So there we have it, a combination of all 4 images into one individual raster mosaic. Right, so now we're talking about map clip. Now what this allows us to do is that it allows us to clip part of the map in a current map window, and the clip features can be saved as a new data set. Now there are 2 ways that we can use the map clip function. First is that we can clip by a rectangle, circle, polygon, or selected objects. And the second one is that we can clip either vector or raster data. So we're going to demonstrate the objects part. So let's go ahead and see how it's done. So here we have our test data source open, and what we're going to do here is that we're going to open up our mosaic result that we created, and we're going to drop our Shanxi polygon on top of this. So what we want to do is that we're going to take this polygon and we want exactly this part of the map from our mosaic. What we're going to do is that we are going to select the map ribbon, and under the map ribbon we're going to go under operations, and we have to go to map clip. Before we do that, we want to select the objects that we want to clip. There we go, and we're going to go to map clip and we're going to say objects. Right, now here we're going to select the clip type as union clip and not the multi-object split clip, and we're going to save our map, say OK. Let's open it up, and there we have it. We have clipped our map according to our polygon. Okay, so let's talk about resampling for a moment before we move on to topology. Now, vector resampling first. So what this resampling does is that it removes vertices from the line or the boundary of the region while trying to keep the original shape. But what happens is that resampling is inevitably going to reduce the accuracy of the data. And the second important thing is that it is not reversible. So that is something that you should keep in mind. Talking about raster resampling, what this does is that it creates a new raster dataset and assigns the cell value or deduction value of the original raster dataset to its pixels. So it's a pixel by pixel thing. Right, so that's what we had about data processing, and we are going to move on to topology now.